If I were to sum Iowa up into a person, I feel like it'd be an aggressively polite, extroverted, like, white woman who, like, talks about you the moment that you leave.
I'd always heard that stereotype growing up from people in Iowa, so I wasn't sure about how people outside of Iowa felt about it. But traveling around the Midwest and spending a lot of time in the Midwest, I think each state kind of has its own Iowa nice, Minnesota nice, Wisconsin nice. Um, and so I think it's less about what state you're in and it just being Iowa and Iowa nice. Um, but I think what people are talking about when they talk about Iowa nice is that there might be a change in temperament of people from like the coasts and big cities to the people who live kind of like in the prairie or prairie states as far as like there's a lot more open room and cities are much further apart. I think the temperament changes. I couldn't tell you exactly how it does, but that's the work of a sociologist. But I think I think each state might have their own idea of Iowa nice or New York nice.
Here, I've gotten people being surprised at how well spoken I am. Oh, you're so well spoken. Oh, you're really smart. Oh, yeah, I have a master's degree. And I got a 4.0 through that whole process. So, I mean, I'm kind of a nerd. And I think that a lot of people here are. So it's safe to assume that people are nerds because we're in a college town. So I would assume that over not for a lot of people that I meet.
Like growing up as like a gay person in like a very like redneck area was definitely very like uncomfortable and like I felt very like ostracized. So like I didn't really recognize like what like great things people were doing, but like I recognized like the bad things of like people like saying on Facebook like, "Oh, I hate gay marriage," especially when it became legal in Iowa. Like those are the things that I remember more, not like, "Oh, like everyone was so nice and polite, and everyone was just like such good pals in our small towns."
I think it's more like this Midwestern nice, Iowa nice, Minnesota nice is just like so shallow and surface level. Is because like especially once you get to know people, they're not like that. Like a lot of people are like very judgmental or very angry or hateful, but then on the outside, like you run into somebody in the supermarket and they're gonna be like, "Oh hi, how are you?" Like blah 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 blah, and then turn around and to somebody that they're actually friends with say something completely different.
Yeah.
You feel like a foreigner way more here in Midwest than in any other city that I've been to in this country. I might feel like sometimes people who are from Iowa originally might talk more within each other's and there might be some like intimidation towards the foreigners. I would definitely say there might be some responsibility to try to interact with the foreigners as much as people from your own background, but I would definitely say that it has to come naturally. And I feel that you feel closer to what you know better, and you think that someone who's been raised in Iowa, for example, might understand you better. So it might be comfortable to mostly interact with them. But I feel like sometimes it might be forced interactions. Sometimes I can see genuine interest and genuine willingness to get to know people that are different from you.
Like people from like the coasts like travel a lot more than people from the Midwest. So it's like kind of like confusing when there's this like stereotype, but I think perhaps it's because they're like trapped in like these like small rural areas where like you have to drive 30 minutes to like get to the nearest big city, like let alone an airport which is like 2 hours away. So I think that they just like don't realize that like they created this and like the rest of the world doesn't really think that.
It sounds so weird to say out loud, but I really was not introduced to a lot of other demographics. Even going to a Catholic school, I didn't interact with people that weren't Catholic until my freshman year of high school. It was so strange to even interact with someone who considered themselves atheist. And like, I don't know what religion I am now, but it's just the fact that I wasn't even exposed to that, the fact that I don't think there were any black students at my primary school. There were you know, a few students of color in my high school, but even then it was probably 90% white. And so, I don't know, there were just all these really strange offhand comments that people would say that I wouldn't really think about until looking back on them later and thinking, oh, it's a weird thing to say. It's like the jokingly racist grandma, like people didn't have an issue with that as much as they should have.
People sometimes think that it's okay to use me as their personal journal or to expose their own racist past to me or their racist parents' past to me. This one woman in the library, like in the bathroom, talked to me for like 20 minutes, like a really long time, just like exposing everything like that she had metabolized, that she was not feeling anymore, but that she had metabolized because her father was a bigot, basically. And I'm just like, wow, you know, thank you for sharing that. And she's just like, you're such a beautiful Black woman. I'm like, well, thank you, you know. And it's just interesting. I find myself in position to teach a lot, to have teachable lessons, like when people don't know about the culture or don't know something about race or history or something. I find myself in that like professor role where I'm like teaching them what it's like to be in my shoes for at least a day or a couple of days or maybe a few months or something like that.
I do, you know a lot of Iowans, obviously living in Iowa, that are really incredible people, and they're incredible people everywhere, of course. So I do think there are a lot of nice people in Iowa. I think that sometimes our politicians can kind of make all Iowans look like Republican evangelist kind of people. You know, like people look at Steve King or most representatives from Iowa and think that's what Iowans are like, right? So I think that's where the counter to Iowa Nice comes from. That's like the biggest argument against it. Yeah.